So I gave you two books to read. One was Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Man, Poor Man.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Rich Man, Poor Man.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. My bad. And the second one was 10X by Grant Cardone. What'd you think of the 10X rule? You're still reading it, right?
I am still reading it. There was one chapter, and it talked about getting rear-ended by a car. And then it tells you to not find any excuses. And then I remember my car getting rear-ended by another car. And then you were like, dude, you should put your hazard lights on. You should have taken another road, done something else. And don't blame that person. Even though it was a red light, I was a stopped car. And that person should have stopped at a red light. But apparently they didn't. So I had to get my car fixed again because of that. So because of that, I learned one thing. People are crazy. They don't know how to drive. And I should probably have a yellow car and have hazard lights on every single time I'm at a red light.
Yeah, when I first read that book, I immediately sent that passage over to you. Yeah, you could have taken another road, taken public transportation. You could have had someone drive you, or have a driver drive you to and from your destination. So I remember that chapter. That chapter was called Assume Control for Everything, right? Even though it's so unorthodox of saying, because when you think of that, you think of for me, I think of therapists saying, you don't have control over everything, yada yada yada, so control what you can control. But what I got out of it is you have to prepare for everything and anything, you know what I mean? So assuming control and responsibility for everything that you do. Even though that person rear-ended you, it's not their fault.
Yeah, it's my fault. I mean, sometimes I think of it as being fate, where if things happen, even if I changed another road or something, I probably would have gotten rear-ended with another route that I've taken. But, there's certain things. Well, he says take control of everything, as in try not be as passive and try to take control, or for a business or for whatever you do. This whole book is asking us to, it's pretty much saying work as hard as you can and 10x everything in order to succeed. And that's the difference between success and failure. Many people think that you have to do a certain amount of task in order to succeed. But in reality, you would have to do a lot more than you would think. And many times he defines that as being 10x of what you think. And he also says that you would have to put your goals further than what you want to actually achieve. So let's just say your goal is to achieve $1 million. Put your goal even further. You may not achieve that further goal, but you will, at the very least, probably achieve your first goal, which was $1 million. You know what I mean? I think there was a quote where it's saying, shoot for the stars, or shoot for the moon, even though you will land amongst the stars, or something like that. It's where you have to put your goals pretty far ahead, even though you may not reach that really far goal. You'll still be pretty good, and you'll be pretty far ahead.
Yeah, because we don't really have, because I want to get into the philosophy and the psychology of it, but not too much though. A lot of people don't know what their limit is, so they stop midway, their limit. You know what I'm saying? Our capacity to succeed is much greater. So we cut ourselves short, undermine our abilities. So what he was saying is that, and what you were saying is, from $0. You can't just go, okay, my goal this year is 1 million. 12 months, 52 weeks, I'm going to do $1 million. And so once you start paving the way to lay out your goals for the year, it's directly for that 1 million. However, if you set that into 500 million, you might surpass the 1 million mark. If you work towards the 1 million, you might get, most likely you're gonna cut yourself short and you'll be like, you just got 750,000. Because your initial plan was to go for that 1 mil. However, if you go for that 500 mil, then that's better because you might surpass that 1 millionth mark on putting out the path for that 500 mil. Your goals are specific to that 500 mil as opposed to 1 million. And I saw this on his video too, where he was asking, I don't know, it was a live feed on YouTube. And he was like, for the people in here and for the people watching, be realistic. And what is your goal for the year? You can't be like, oh, this year I'm going to make 1 trillion. And he was like, be realistic. I kind of had a gripe with that. His reality and my reality are very different. I do agree 1 trillion in a year is improbable, almost impossible, but why not? For you keep saying to me like 1 trillion every second, and
Oh yeah, I remember I did tell you that.
yeah,
I was like,
and I'm like,
I think,
you gotta be realistic there. That's, even for me, that's a little bit, that's a little bit too far.
sometimes we have dreams as a kid. I mean, trillion was like one of those big numbers that I always came up with as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just looking at some of the things, the common mistakes in that 10x book,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't quite remember everything. I just need a quick reminder, a refresher. There was one thing there's common mistakes. The first one is setting your sights too low. So setting your goals too low. And the thing is with that, people are saying set your goals to be realistic, which is true. I mean, let's just say for us, we want to make $1 million, which isn't a
Per
bad
month.
amount.
Per month.
It's not a bad amount, right?
Per month. No,
But
profit.
yeah,
Not revenue, profit per month.
okay, just listen to me. Let me explain first. Don't set it too low or set a realistic goal.
Uh-huh.
Let's just say we want to make $1 million.
Per month.
Let's just say we want to make $1 million a year
Per month.
or X amount a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even though some people may not find it realistic and it may be too low. I'm like, the thing is, if we set our goal at $1 million, then at the most we'll get is $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? If we set our goal at X, we'll never go X plus one. We'll never go above and beyond because we never have a goal that's above what we want.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the main thing I want to tell our viewers and for us to keep in mind is that even though we have a set goal of uploading X amount of videos per day or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
we should always shoot for more because if we work harder, we'll probably overachieve our first goal, but
Mm-hmm.
underachieve our unrealistic goal. You know what I mean? We'd probably
Yeah.
overachieve that 1 million and underachieve that unrealistic goal of 1 trillion. Do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
But there's one caveat to that, because a lot of successful people and a lot of people who have money is that they're never satiated or satisfied with what they've accomplished. And so that relates back to what you're saying, where, they can never reach that 10x goal because it's so far ahead. And so that cracks on your mental health.
second common mistake, underestimating how much action is required. I think we always underestimate the amount of time and effort we need to put in order to succeed.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I mean, I think many of us as kids, we want instant gratification. We want things to be handed to us, and we don't want to work as hard.
Mhm.
But success isn't usually like that.
Even today, even like millennials and Gen Zs today, it's just instant gratification. Like, put up one blog, where's my Lamborghini? You have to. I wrote this about in our blog today. I gave an example of if you've been in architecture like I was, taking it 4 years in high school, or if you've taken general contracting in adult school, or who have gone into carpentry in your working years, or if you've ever remodeled your kitchen. The amount of time it takes and the amount of money it takes for something like remodeling a kitchen takes is usually double that. And so what I got out from the book is that you have to 10x the amount of time, the amount of money that you put into remodeling your life, remodeling your kitchen. So if, let's say, remodeling your kitchen, the general contractor says it's going to be $500,000, it's going to take roughly 6 months, let's say, to finish. You need to double that. You would need 2 times the amount of money and 2 times the amount of time it takes to finish that, remodeling that kitchen. It takes $500,000. Well, guess what? You need $1,000,000. So whatever happens during that time, it can be covered. And it takes 6 months. Well, it's going to take 1 year. So whatever the general contractor says, you have to double it. But from me reading the 10x book, it's like, okay, it takes 6 months. Well, it take 5 years. Well, it's going to take $500,000, get 5 million. It goes back to what you were saying, where assume control over everything and assume responsibility for everything. If you thought it was going to take 6 months or a year or $500,000 to 1 mil and it's not, well, that's on you, right? So you have to like prepare and lay out a plan so you don't get surprised in the end when the general contractor says it's going to take about 3 years. Well, now we're at 2 mil remodeling this kitchen, right? So you have to prepare yourself.
Spending too much time competing and not enough time dominating their sector, underestimating the amount of adversity they will have to
Wait,
overcome.
how many are we going for the chapters, dude? We're just doing a rundown here.
Yeah, I'm just going through the common mistakes. This is spending too much time competing and not enough time dominating their sector. I think I just read this chapter, or maybe I didn't. I'm not sure. Do you remember? Competing,
What chapter
spending
is
too much.
that?
I don't remember what chapter that is. And
What
not
was
enough
the title
time.
again?
It wasn't a title. It says one of the common mistakes is spending too much time competing and not enough time dominating their sector.
Oh yeah, I remember that. He was saying like, um, he was having these comments that a lot of people have this misconception of, well, competition is good, and a competition is for good for whom exactly? It's good for the economy, right? If you've ever taken macroeconomics, they say that competition is good for a capitalistic economy. It's good for the market. It's not necessarily good for the entrepreneur. And so what he was saying is that, dominate your sector, outdo everyone in your arena, do your due diligence, do your research, do more than the quote unquote competitor. And then he was saying that your quote unquote competitors will follow suit. They're going to think you're so crazy for doing this amount of sales, they'll be unable to keep up. That's what I think Mark Cuban was saying too, was like, if you ever go up against me, me as in Mark Cuban, he was like, I'll destroy you, because I'll do my research, I'll outwork you any time of the week. Like if I start from zero, and if you go up against me, there's no competition. I'll just outwork you. These business people, these successful people, they're on a different lane. When you were calling me, texting me like, dude, you're insane, right? You want to do this amount of videos. You want to do this amount of blog posts. You want to do this. Like, you won't be able to do it. But for me, I'm like, well, we need to. Because we need to switch over to their lane, right? To Mark Cuban's lane, Grant Cardone's lane, Robert Kiyosaki's lane. So we definitely need to switch that mindset and switch to their lane as opposed to sticking to something so mediocre of having like one blog post per month.